Ethan's breath was steady, his fingers gliding across the holographic interface of the organization's encrypted database. The room was dark, illuminated only by the eerie blue glow of the screen. He had done this 1,000 times before, accessing files, extracting information, deleting records of those who had become threats. But tonight was different. Tonight he was searching for himself. His hands moved with precision, bypassing security measures he had once helped design. The deeper he dug, the more the uneasy feeling in his gut grew. The organization kept records of everything, every mission, every agent, every anomaly detected in reality. Yet, when he searched for Eleanor Graves, there was nothing. It wasn't just restricted or classified. It was erased, as if she had never existed. His pulse quickened. He wasn't just looking for Eleanor. He was looking for any trace of his past, of the life Eleanor had told him he had forgotten. But file after file came up blank, entire sections of data missing. He typed in his own name, Ethan Vale. The screen flickered for a moment before displaying his dossier. The information was familiar. His training, his recruitment, his missions. But then he noticed something unusual. The dates didn't align. The gaps between assignments were too long, too many blank spots where records should have been. A notification flashed. Anomalous activity detected. The system was fighting back against his intrusion. Ethan knew he had only seconds before automated security protocols locked him out. He switched tactics, running a deep scan of deleted files. The screen glitched, static distorting the interface. And then something appeared, a fragment of a corrupted file, a single name buried within the data. Dr. Adrian Kessler. The name sent a jolt through Ethan's mind. He didn't recognize it, yet something about it felt familiar. He clicked on the file, attempting to restore it, but the system resisted. A warning flashed across the screen. Unauthorized access detected. Security override initiated. The room's lights flared to life as a mechanical voice spoke. Agent Ethan Vale. Step away from the terminal. Ethan cursed under his breath. He had been found. He grabbed his data drive, severing the connection as he turned toward the exit. The door slid open with a hiss, and two operatives in black tactical gear stepped in, weapons raised. Ethan Vale, one of them said, "Stand down." Ethan's mind raced. If they had sent enforcers, it meant they weren't sure what he knew yet. That gave him an advantage. He raised his hands in mock surrender. "I was just running maintenance. System flagged a potential data breach. Thought I'd check it out." The operatives didn't lower their weapons. "Step away from the console." Ethan's eyes flicked to the hallway behind them. He could fight, take them down before reinforcements arrived, or he could run. But he needed more information. He needed to know why his own history had been rewritten. One of the operatives moved closer, reaching for a restraint device. That was his opening. Ethan moved fast, knocking the weapon from the agent's hands and driving an elbow into his ribs. The second operative reacted, but Ethan was faster, twisting the man's wrist and forcing him to drop his gun. Within seconds, both men were on the ground, unconscious. Alarms blared through the facility. He had no time left. He sprinted toward the emergency exit, slamming his badge against the panel to override the lockdown sequence. The door slid open just as more footsteps echoed down the corridor. He didn't wait to see who was coming. He ran. The city lights were blinding as he emerged from the underground complex. He had memorized the blind spots of the organization's surveillance grid. If he could make it to the east sector, he could disappear. But first, he had to find out who Dr. Adrian Kessler was. He pulled the stolen data drive from his pocket, praying it contained something useful. Eleanor had been right. There were pieces of his past that had been erased. And now, someone was trying to make sure he never put them back together. Ethan vanished into the night, the name Kessler burning in his mind like a ghost from a forgotten reality. He ducked into a shadowed alley, his mind racing through possibilities. If Kessler was important enough to be erased, then he must have been a key figure within the organization. But why? Ethan needed a safe place to decrypt the drive. He couldn't go to his usual hideouts. By now, the organization would have flagged every location he had ever used. He needed somewhere off the grid. An old contact came to mind, someone who owed him a favor. Hours later, Ethan found himself in a rundown cyber cafe on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where no one asked questions. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, the hum of outdated machines filling the space. He took a seat at a private booth, inserted the drive, and began running a decryption program. The files were heavily encoded, layers upon layers of security. But Ethan was patient. He watched as fragments of information slowly unraveled, revealing glimpses of reports, names, locations. And then he saw it, a classified document labeled Project Reverie. His breath hitched as he scanned the text. The project was linked to memory alteration, deep-level cognitive rewiring. It was designed to erase and rewrite identities, implant fabricated pasts. And Dr. Adrian Kessler had been the lead scientist. Ethan felt his stomach drop. His entire life, his memories, his choices, had they all been fabricated? He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to focus. There was another name attached to the project. Not just Kessler. Someone higher up, someone with the authority to make people disappear. Director Marcus Holloway. Ethan clenched his fists. If Holloway was involved, this went deeper than he had imagined. And it meant one thing. Finding the truth wasn't just a personal mission anymore. It was a war. The screen flickered as a final message decrypted itself. A set of coordinates. A meeting point. A final transmission from Kessler before he disappeared. Ethan exhaled slowly. He had a new lead. And this time, he wouldn't stop until he uncovered everything. No matter the cost.